I want to talk about something today that we all experience, but rarely take the time to unpack forcing things. It's that impulse to push, to strive, to make something happen, even when every part of us is screaming, this isn't right. We've all been there, haven't we? Trying to force a relationship to work when the connection just isn't there. Forcing ourselves to fit into roles or expectations that don't align with who we are. Forcing success, even at the expense of our well being. We live in a culture that worships hustle. Push harder, they say. No pain, no gain, but I'm here to challenge that. Because there is a fine line between perseverance and forcing. Perseverance is rooted in passion and purpose. It's about moving forward with intention, even when things are tough. Forcing, on the other hand, is about control. It's about trying to make something happen without considering if it's right, if it's meant to be, or if it's even good for us. We often hear the words perseverance and forcing used interchangeably, but there is a profound difference between the two. And understanding this difference can change how we approach challenges in our lives. Perseverance is a form of resilience rooted in passion and purpose. It is the ability to keep going despite setbacks, driven by a deep sense of commitment to a goal or vision that feels authentic and aligned with our values. When we persevere, we are willing to face discomfort, obstacles, and even failure because we believe in the journey and the destination. There's a sense of meaning behind our actions, a kind of quiet strength that keeps us moving forward, even when the path gets tough. Forcing, on the other hand, feels very different. It's driven by a need to control the outcome, often rooted in fear, insecurity, or the pressure of external expectations. Forcing is about pushing against the natural flow, trying to make something happen regardless of whether the timing, circumstances, or even our own readiness align with what we're pursuing. When we force things, we tend to ignore the signals that might be telling us to slow down, reconsider, or even take a different path. We become fixated on achieving a specific result, often at the expense of our own well-being or the quality of what we are trying to create. It's a mindset that says, if I just push hard enough, I can bend reality to fit my desires. This approach often leads to frustration, burnout, and disappointment because we are fighting against what is rather than working with it. Imagine climbing a mountain. When we approach it with perseverance, we accept that the journey will be challenging. We prepare for the obstacles, pace ourselves, and listen to our bodies. If we encounter a steep cliff or a storm, we might pause, take shelter, or even choose a different path. We adjust our strategy based on what we encounter, knowing that the goal is not just to reach the summit, but to do so in a way that honors our limits and the process itself. We are committed to the climb, but we are also respectful of the mountain and its unpredictable nature. Perseverance allows us to maintain a flexible mindset, one that adapts to changes and challenges without giving up on the larger vision. In contrast, forcing the climb would look very different. It's like trying to scale the mountain without a proper plan, pushing through bad weather without taking a break, or insisting on taking a direct but dangerous route because we want to get there faster. It's the mindset that says, I need to make this happen now, no matter what. There is little regard for the conditions or our own state of readiness. Forcing is driven by impatience, fear of failure, or a desire to prove something to ourselves or to others. It's about controlling the process in a way that disregards the natural flow and rhythm of the experience. The outcome becomes the sole focus, and in the rush to achieve it, we often overlook important signs, miss opportunities to learn, and put ourselves at risk of burnout or injury. One of the key differences between perseverance and forcing lies in their underlying motivation. Perseverance comes from a place of passion, a deep inner drive that aligns with our values and long-term vision. It's about holding on to what matters to us, even when it's hard, because we believe in its importance. It's a journey marked by patience and persistence, where the process is just as significant as the result. There's a willingness to take one step at a time, to rest when needed, and to accept that setbacks are a part of the growth. The focus is on progress rather than perfection, on the journey rather than just the destination. It's about trusting that consistent effort over time will lead us where we need to go. Forcing, in contrast, is often fueled by anxiety, impatience, or fear, failure, fear of judgment, or fear of missing out. It's an attempt to exert control over a situation, to make things happen according to a specific timeline or expectation. Instead of trusting the process and allowing things to unfold naturally, we try to push through barriers and resist the natural flow. Forcing is about imposing our will, trying to bend reality to fit our desires. It's a reactive approach driven by the need for immediate results or the pressure to meet external standards. It can lead to a sense of frustration and resentment when things don't go as planned because the focus is on the outcome rather than the experience of getting there. The energy behind perseverance is one of acceptance and commitment. It's a recognition that the path may be difficult, but we're willing to walk it because it's meaningful to us. There's a sense of humility and perseverance and acknowledgement that we can't control every variable, but can choose how we respond to challenges. Perseverance allows us to flow with life, to adapt and adjust our approach as we learn and grow. It's about steady, consistent effort that builds momentum over time. Forcing, however, is an act of resistance. It's a refusal to accept the current circumstances, a desire to control and manipulate the situation to fit our expectations. It's a struggle against the natural order of things, often driven by the belief that we must achieve a certain result to prove our worth or to meet some external benchmark. This approach can be exhausting because it requires constant effort, pushing against obstacles instead of working with them. It often leaves us feeling drained and unfulfilled because we are chasing an outcome rather than engaging with the process. When we force things, we miss the opportunities that come from being present and open to the unexpected. We overlook the lessons that arise from the setbacks, the insights that come from pausing and reflecting. Perseverance, on the other hand, is about embracing the journey in its entirety, trusting that even the detours and delays have value. It's about moving forward with intention, guided by a deeper sense of purpose rather than rushing ahead out of fear or the need for control. The path of perseverance leads us to growth and fulfillment, while forcing often leads to frustration and exhaustion. Letting go of control is one of the most challenging yet liberating practices we can embrace. In a world that constantly emphasizes productivity, efficiency, and success, the idea of loosening our grip on the outcomes of our efforts can feel counterintuitive. We're taught from an early age that control is synonymous with power, and that if we can just manage all the variables in our lives, our careers, our relationships, our future, we can avoid disappointment, uncertainty, and pain. However, this mindset often sets us up for a constant battle against the unpredictable nature of life. The truth is, our attempts to control everything are rooted in a deep-seated fear of the unknown, a fear that, if left unchecked, can consume us and limit our potential for growth and joy. When we try to control every aspect of our lives, we create an illusion of security. We think that by planning every detail and anticipating every possible outcome, we can avoid discomfort and ensure success. However, this kind of hyper control is exhausting and unsustainable. Life is inherently unpredictable. It doesn't follow a script, and it rarely goes exactly as planned. The more we try to force things to fit our expectations, the more frustrated and anxious we become when reality doesn't cooperate. It's like trying to hold water in our hands. The tighter we squeeze, the more it slips through our fingers. Letting go of control doesn't mean we stop caring or stop striving for our goals. It means we stop micromanaging every step of the process. It means we recognize that while we can influence certain aspects of our lives, we can never fully dictate the outcomes. This shift in mindset requires us to embrace uncertainty, which is something many of us struggle with. We crave predictability because it gives us a sense of comfort. We want to know what's going to happen next, to have a clear path laid out before us. But when we become too focused on controlling outcomes, we can become blind to the opportunities that arise when things don't go according to plan. Letting go of control is about opening ourselves up to the possibility that life might have something different, even better, in store for us than what we had initially envisioned. It's about trusting that the journey itself will bring us where we need to go, even if it takes us on a path we didn't expect. The practice of letting go involves a fundamental shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. In a fixed mindset, we believe that our worth and success are tied to specific outcomes. We cling to rigid expectations, thinking that we must achieve certain goals in a specific way to feel valuable or successful. This perspective leads us to become overly controlling because we are afraid of what it means if things don't go as planned. We worry that failure or unexpected changes are a reflection of our inadequacy. In contrast, a growth mindset embraces the process of learning and adapting. It values the journey over the destination and understands that setbacks are opportunities for growth rather than indicators of failure. When we let go of control, we adopt a growth mindset that allows us to be curious and open to what life has to teach us rather than being consumed by the need to make everything fit our expectations. One of the most significant barriers to letting go of control is our fear of vulnerability. To let go means to accept that we don't have all the answers, that we can't predict or dictate every outcome. This acknowledgement can feel deeply uncomfortable because it requires us to confront our fears of uncertainty, failure, and not being enough. We have to be willing to be vulnerable, to take risks without the guarantee of success. This kind of vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a courageous choice to show up fully in life, even when we don't know what the outcome will be. It's about embracing the unknown and trusting that we have the strength and resilience to handle whatever comes our way. Letting go of control also involves a deep sense of trust, both in ourselves and in the process of life. It's about believing that we can handle uncertainty and that we have the inner resources to navigate challenges, even when they don't align with our expectations. This trust doesn't come from a place of blind optimism. It's rooted in the experiences we've had of overcoming difficulties in the past. When we look back at our lives, we can often see that the times when things didn't go as planned were the moments that taught us the most, that pushed us to grow in ways we never would have if everything had gone according to our original script. Another critical aspect of letting go of control is learning to be present. When we're fixated on controlling the future, we're often living in a state of anxiety, constantly worrying about what might go wrong or what we need to do next. This kind of future-oriented thinking prevents us from being fully engaged in the present moment, from appreciating what's happening right now. By letting go of our need to control what comes next, we allow ourselves to be present, to experience life as it is unfolding in the moment. Accepting the discomfort of the in-between phase is one of the most challenging but necessary parts of any transformational journey. This phase is the space between who we were and who we are becoming. It is the period where the old has fallen away, but the new has not yet fully emerged. It is a time of uncertainty, ambiguity, and often discomfort because it requires us to let go of the familiar and step into the unknown. We may not yet have a clear vision of where we are headed, which can leave us feeling lost, vulnerable, and exposed. Yet it is in this very discomfort that the seeds of transformation are planted. The discomfort of the in-between phase stems from our natural aversion to uncertainty. As human beings, we crave stability, predictability, and control. We find comfort in knowing what to expect and in feeling like we have a solid grip on our lives. When we are in the midst of change, however, that sense of control is often stripped away. We are no longer anchored by our old routines, beliefs, or identities, but we haven't yet established new ones. It feels like we are floating in a sea of uncertainty with no clear direction or destination in sight. This can trigger feelings of anxiety, fear, and self-doubt. We might question whether we are making the right choices or if we have what it takes to navigate this transition successfully. One of the hardest parts of this phase is the temptation to retreat back to the familiar, even if the familiar is what we were trying to escape in the first place. The discomfort of the unknown can make us long for the safety of our old habits, identities, or environments. We might find ourselves thinking, maybe it wasn't so bad after all, or I should just go back to what I was doing before. At least I knew what to expect. This kind of thinking can be a way of seeking refuge from the discomfort of growth. But if we give in to this temptation, we risk stalling our transformation and missing out on the opportunity to evolve into a fuller, truer version of ourselves. And to navigate the in-between phase effectively, we must learn to embrace discomfort rather than resist it. This means recognizing that discomfort is not a sign that something has gone wrong, but rather a natural part of the process of change. When we embark on a journey of transformation, we are in essence stepping into uncharted territory. We are breaking away from old patterns and venturing into new unfamiliar spaces. Just as a caterpillar must dissolve into a formless goo inside its chrysalis before it can become a butterfly, we too must go through a period of disintegration before we can fully integrate our new selves. The discomfort we feel during this phase is often a result of shedding our old identities. We are letting go of the roles we used to play, the labels we used to wear, and the stories we used to tell about ourselves. This shedding process can feel disorienting because for a time, we may not know who we are without these familiar markers. It's like walking through a fog where the landscape is constantly shifting and we cannot see the path ahead clearly. But in this fog, we are also free from the constraints of our past selves, and this is where the possibility for new growth lies. Instead of trying to rush through this phase or numb the discomfort with distractions, it can be helpful to sit with it, to allow ourselves to fully experience the unease. This might mean feeling the fear of not knowing what comes next, allowing ourselves to grieve the loss of our old selves, or facing the uncertainty of our future without a clear plan. It's about acknowledging the discomfort, holding space for it, and trusting that it is an essential part of the process. This willingness to be with our discomfort is what allows us to move through it rather than get stuck in it. One of the key lessons we can learn in the in between phase is patience. We live in a fast paced world that celebrates quick fixes and immediate results, but real transformation takes time. It's a slow process that requires us to trust in the unfolding of our journey, even when we cannot see the end result. Patience means allowing ourselves the grace to be in this liminal space without forcing an outcome. It's about accepting that we might not have all the answers right now and that it's okay to take things one step at a time. In this way, patience becomes an act of self compassion, a way of honoring our own process of growth. Another important aspect of navigating the in between phase is embracing uncertainty as an opportunity for creativity and exploration. When we let go of our old selves, we make room for new possibilities that we may never have considered before. We have the chance to experiment, to try new things, and to explore different aspects of our personality. It's a time of exploration where we can redefine our values, reconsider our goals, and recalibrate our vision for the future. In this sense, the discomfort of the in between phase can be seen not as a barrier, but as a fertile ground for innovation and discovery. This phase also requires us to cultivate resilience. As we move through the discomfort, we are building our capacity to tolerate uncertainty and ambiguity. Each time we resist the urge to retreat back to the familiar and instead lean into the discomfort, we strengthen our resilience. We learn that we can handle not knowing, that we can survive the ambiguity, and that we are capable of navigating the unknown. This resilience becomes a core part of our transformed selves, equipping us to face future challenges with greater confidence and inner strength. In the end, the in between phase is where the real work of transformation happens. It's where we confront our fears, shed our old skins, and learn to embrace the unknown. It's a time of profound internal change, even if it looks like nothing is happening on the surface. By accepting and embracing this discomfort, we allow ourselves to undergo the deep, transformative process that leads to true growth. We come out on the other side with a clearer sense of who we are and a stronger foundation on which to build our new selves. It's a journey that requires courage, patience, and a willingness to be uncomfortable, but it is the discomfort itself that shapes us into the people we are meant to become. In a world that celebrates grand gestures and big, bold moves, it can be easy to overlook the power of small, quiet choices. We often think that transformation requires drastic, life-changing decisions, a complete career shift, a big move to a new city, or a dramatic overhaul of our daily habits. While these significant actions can indeed be powerful, they are rarely sustainable without the foundation of smaller, consistent choices that build up over time. It is in these small, quiet decisions that the real work of transformation happens. They are the subtle shifts in our thinking, the minor adjustments in our behavior, and the everyday moments when we choose a different path than we might have in the past. These choices may seem insignificant on their own, but together they create a powerful momentum that can lead to profound and lasting change. Focusing on small, quiet choices starts with recognizing that transformation is a process, not a one-time event. We often get caught up in the allure of immediate results and instant gratification, expecting that one big change will magically solve all our problems or lead us to the life we desire. However, this mindset overlooks the fact that true, meaningful change is built gradually. It is the cumulative effect of countless small decisions we make every day, often without realizing their importance. Whether it's choosing to wake up a little earlier to meditate, deciding to take a walk instead of scrolling through social media, or opting to speak kindly to ourselves instead of being self-critical, these small choices set the stage for deeper, more substantial transformation over time. The power of small, quiet choices lies in their consistency. While a dramatic, sweeping change can be exhilarating, it can also be overwhelming. We might set lofty goals or make ambitious plans only to find ourselves feeling burnt out or discouraged when we can't maintain the pace we initially set. Small choices, on the other hand, are sustainable because they don't require us to completely upend our lives. They are manageable, achievable, and less intimidating, making it easier for us to stick with them over the long term. For example, if you want to improve your physical health, you might start by making one small change, like drinking an extra glass of water each day. This might seem trivial at first, but as you consistently make this choice, it becomes a habit. Over time, this habit can lead to a series of other positive changes, such as feeling more energized, making healthier food choices, and being more motivated to exercise. It's a ripple effect that starts with one small decision. Small, quiet choices are also powerful because they are often made in moments of stillness and reflection. In our busy, fast paced lives, we tend to prioritize the big, loud decisions, the ones that demand immediate attention and promise quick results. However, it's in the quiet moments when we slow down and tune into ourselves that we can make the most meaningful choices. These are the moments when we listen to our inner voice, consider our true desires, and choose to act in alignment with our values. It might be as simple as deciding to take a few deep breaths when we're feeling stressed instead of reacting impulsively. It might be choosing to say no to something that doesn't align with our goals, even if it feels uncomfortable in the moment. These choices may not be visible to others, but they have a profound impact on our lives because they reflect our commitment to living authentically. Another aspect of focusing on small, quiet choices is that it helps us build a strong foundation for change. Just like a house needs a solid base to withstand storms, our personal growth requires a stable groundwork of healthy, supportive habits. By making small, consistent choices, we gradually build this foundation, creating a sense of stability and confidence in our ability to change. Each small choice becomes a building block, reinforcing our commitment to our goals and helping us gain momentum. Over time, these choices become second nature, and we begin to see the cumulative effects in our lives. We might notice that we feel calmer, more focused, or more confident, even if we can't pinpoint a specific moment when the shift occurred. It's the result of countless small actions adding up over time. Focusing on small, quiet choices also allows us to celebrate incremental progress, which is essential for maintaining motivation. When we set big goals or strive for significant changes, it can be easy to feel discouraged if we don't see immediate results. However, when we pay attention to the small steps we are taking each day, we can recognize and celebrate our progress, no matter how modest it might seem. This acknowledgement of our efforts can be incredibly motivating because it reminds us that we are moving forward, even if the changes aren't yet visible on the surface. It's a way of reinforcing the belief that we are capable of change and that our small actions are making a difference. Small, quiet choices also help us develop a deeper sense of self-trust. Every time we make a choice that aligns with our goals or values, we are sending a message to ourselves that we can be relied upon to take action in our own best interest. This builds our self-confidence and reinforces the belief that we are capable of making positive changes in our lives. Over time, this self-trust becomes a powerful force that propels us forward, making it easier for us to take on bigger challenges and make more significant changes. We begin to see ourselves not as people who need to be fixed or transformed overnight, but as individuals who are capable of growth and evolution, one small step at a time. Lastly, small, quiet choices allow us to be more present in our lives. By focusing on the small actions we can take in each moment, we shift our attention away from the distant future and bring it back to the present. This mindfulness helps us appreciate the journey of transformation rather than fixating solely on the end result. Emerging authentically after a period of transformation is one of the most powerful experiences we can have. It marks the moment when we step back into the world as a more genuine version of ourselves, having shed layers of conditioning, old beliefs, and the false personas we may have worn to fit in or please others. It's a process of coming back to our core, understanding who we truly are, and embracing that identity with courage and openness. This journey toward authenticity requires us to reflect deeply on our values, desires, and unique characteristics, allowing us to live in alignment with our truest selves. Re-emerging authentically is about showing up fully, embracing our imperfections, and sharing our true selves with the world without fear of judgment or rejection. The first step in this process is embracing vulnerability. Authenticity cannot exist without vulnerability because being authentic means being honest about who we are, including our struggles, fears, and insecurities. When we put on a mask or try to present a curated version of ourselves, we are protecting ourselves from potential criticism or rejection. However, this self-protection comes at a high cost. It creates a barrier between us and the people around us, preventing genuine connection. To reemerge authentically, we must be willing to take off these masks and allow ourselves to be seen for who we truly are. This means embracing our flaws, our mistakes, and our humanity. It means saying, "This is me with all my imperfections, and I am worthy of love and acceptance." Part of re-emerging authentically involves letting go of the expectations and opinions of others. Throughout our lives, we are influenced by societal norms, cultural expectations, and the desires of those around us, family, friends, colleagues. These external pressures can shape our decisions and behaviors, leading us to live in ways that may not be true to our inner selves. We might pursue careers we aren't passionate about, maintain relationships that don't serve us, or suppress parts of our personality to fit into a mold that was never ours to begin with. To reemerge authentically, we must challenge these external influences and ask ourselves, what do I truly want? What feels right for me, regardless of what others think? This process requires us to trust our own inner voice and intuition more than the opinions and judgments of others. It's about reclaiming our power and making choices that align with our true desires, even if they go against the grain of what is expected. A critical aspect of this journey is accepting all parts of ourselves, the light and the shadow. It's easy to embrace the aspects of our personality that we like or that are socially acceptable. However, authenticity requires us to acknowledge and integrate the parts of ourselves we may have disowned or hidden away. These could be qualities we were taught to suppress, such as our sensitivity, creativity, or assertiveness. They could also be aspects we perceive as weaknesses or flaws, such as our fears, insecurities, or past mistakes. By bringing these parts into the light and accepting them as integral components of who we are, we become whole. We no longer feel the need to hide parts of ourselves to fit in or to be accepted by others. Instead, we stand in the fullness of our being, embracing everything that makes us unique. Reemerging authentically also involves aligning our actions with our values. It's one thing to know who we are and what we stand for, but it's another to live in a way that reflects those values consistently. When we act in alignment with our values, we create a sense of inner harmony and integrity. We feel more at peace with ourselves because we know that our actions reflect our true beliefs and desires. This might mean setting boundaries in relationships, making career choices based on passion rather than prestige, or speaking up about things that matter to us, even if it's uncomfortable. Living authentically requires courage because it often means making choices that are difficult or unpopular. However, the reward is a life that feels more meaningful and true. Another essential element of re-emerging authentically is embracing the idea of growth and change as part of our authentic selves. Authenticity is not about being static or rigid. It's about being true to where we are at any given moment. Right, as we grow, learn, and experience new things, our perspectives, desires, and values may shift. Re-emerging authentically means allowing ourselves the freedom to evolve. It's about giving ourselves permission to change our minds, try new things, and redefine what authenticity looks like for us at different stages of our lives. We are not bound by our past choices or identities. We are dynamic beings capable of continuous transformation. An important part of this process is finding a community that supports and celebrates our authentic selves. While it is vital to cultivate self-acceptance, having a network of people who accept and appreciate us for who we are can be incredibly affirming. These are the people who see us in our vulnerability, who understand our values and dreams, and who encourage us to be our true selves. Surrounding ourselves with such individuals creates a safe space where we can express ourselves openly without fear of judgment. It's a reminder that we are not alone in our journey and that there are people who will love and accept us just as we are. Ultimately, re-emerging authentically is about stepping into our power and taking ownership of our story. It's about recognizing that we have the right to define our own identity and choose how we show up in the world. We no longer need to seek validation from others or conform to external standards. Instead, we live from a place of self-acceptance and self-love, knowing that our worth is inherent and not contingent on the approval of others. This sense of inner freedom allows us to approach life with a greater sense of joy, curiosity, and openness. We become more willing to take risks, to explore new possibilities, and to pursue what truly lights us up. When we reemerge authentically, we not only transform our own lives, but we also inspire others to do the same. By showing up as our true selves, we give permission to those around us to embrace their own authenticity. Our willingness to be vulnerable and real creates a ripple effect, encouraging deeper connections and a greater sense of community. In a world where so many people feel pressured to conform or hide their true selves, living authentically is a revolutionary act. It's a powerful statement that says, I am enough as I am, and I am willing to be seen for who I truly am. Through this act of courage, we step into the fullness of our being and invite others to do the same, creating a more authentic, connected, and compassionate world. Transformation is often seen as a process of change, of becoming something entirely different, but in truth, it is about becoming more of who you truly are. It's not about shedding our identities to create a new one from scratch, rather. It is a journey of peeling back layers of conditioning, expectations, and fears that have obscured our authentic selves. It's about uncovering the core of who we are and bringing that essence to the forefront of our lives. Instead of striving to be someone else or to fit an idealized version of ourselves, transformation is about returning to our true nature, honoring our innate qualities, and allowing them to shine without reservation. At its core, transformation is a process of self-discovery and self-acceptance. Many of us spend years, even decades, living according to the expectations of others. We adopt roles that society, our families, or our peers have assigned to us, molding ourselves to fit into the boxes that others have constructed. We may take on careers because they are considered prestigious, hide parts of our personality to avoid judgment, or pursue goals that don't resonate with us simply because we've been told they are the markers of success. In doing so, we disconnect from our true selves. We lose sight of our own desires, passions, and values, replacing them with external benchmarks of worthiness. Transformation, then, is about reclaiming our inner voice and aligning our lives with our authentic selves. This journey toward authenticity requires us to examine the narratives we have internalized about who we are supposed to be. We all carry stories from our past beliefs we've picked up from childhood experiences that have shaped our view of the world, and cultural norms that have dictated our behaviors. These stories can often be limiting, telling us that we are not good enough, that we need to be a certain way to be accepted, or that we must follow a specific path to find happiness. Transformation involves challenging these narratives and recognizing them for what they are, constructs that can be rewritten. It's a process of questioning the beliefs we've taken for granted, asking ourselves whether they truly serve us or if they are merely holding us back. By letting go of these limiting stories, we open up space to discover who we are beneath the layers of societal conditioning. An essential aspect of this process is embracing self-acceptance. To become more of who we truly are, we must first learn to accept ourselves as we are. This means embracing not only our strengths and successes, but also our flaws, vulnerabilities, and mistakes. Often, we resist this part of the process because it can be painful to confront the parts of ourselves we've been taught to reject. We may fear that if we acknowledge our imperfections, we will be unworthy of love or acceptance. However, true transformation can only occur when we stop trying to be someone we are not and start embracing the entirety of who we are. This self-acceptance is a radical act of love that allows us to see ourselves not as a collection of flaws to be fixed, but as whole beings who are already enough. Transformation is also about tuning into our inner wisdom. Each of us has an intuitive sense of what feels right for us, a guiding voice that knows the direction we should take. However, in the noise of everyday life, it's easy to drown out this inner voice with the opinions and advice of others. We might seek validation from external sources, constantly looking for signs that we are on the right path. But true transformation requires us to quiet the external noise and turn inward, to listen to our intuition and trust ourselves to make the choices that align with our values. This inner guidance is unique to each of us. What is right for one person may not be right for another. When we listen to our intuition and follow our own path, we begin to live in a way that is authentic and true to who we are. As we go through this process of becoming more of who we truly are, we often find that it is less about adding new traits or skills and more about letting go of what no longer serves us. It's about shedding old identities, habits, and mindsets that we have outgrown. Just as a tree naturally sheds its leaves in autumn, we too must release what is no longer aligned with our true selves. This shedding process can be uncomfortable because it requires us to confront the parts of our lives that feel safe and familiar but are ultimately restrictive. Letting go can bring up feelings of loss or fear of the unknown, but it is a necessary step in making room for new growth. Through this release, we become lighter, freer, and more open to the possibilities that life has to offer. The process of becoming more of who we truly are is deeply personal and unique to each individual. It is not about conforming to a predefined idea of what an authentic person looks like. Rather, it is about honoring our own unique journey and the qualities that make us who we are. For some, this might mean reconnecting with a creative passion that was put aside in favor of practicality. For others, it could involve standing up for themselves and setting boundaries in relationships where they've been silent. It's about identifying what brings us joy, what lights us up, and what aligns with our deepest values. When we begin to live in accordance with our authentic selves, we experience a sense of fulfillment that comes not from external achievements, but from the simple act of being true to ourselves.